What is popping, 10 good people? So, this is Madam X. It's Frequency Real Radio. You already know that. Now, I was in the middle of doing readings, and I did a whole card chat. Sometimes I put out videos and call them card chats where we just discuss random topics that are on my mind. And by the way, I do have Leo through most likely Capricorns, at least Leo through Sagittarius. Those readings most likely will be posted on my page tomorrow. I'm going to post this video about future today. I did a whole card rant about this, but I was thinking, well, I really wasn't showing them future's chart, so maybe I should come back and do it with the chart. So I think I'm going to do it with the chart, and depending on how much we go over here, maybe I'll put some of the card chat rant in here, because there were some other questions that I had for you guys where I was just interested in your opinion on, like, people having these kids with married men or having kids with these men that are in long-term situations, and then the men not being there to claim these kids, and then women being upset and blasting the guys because they are not there to take care of kids. But you know what they say, mama's baby, daddy's maybe. You know, if you're not in a long-term thing with that man in a marriage, and even if you are, you could still find yourself potentially raising kids on your own. So I have no idea why women who have kids by married men or men in other relationships seem to think that they have anything coming other than financial support, if they even get that. I mean, it just doesn't make sense to me. So, and it's funny because I was moving my tarot decks around as I sit here. I had some sitting in, it's just my charger cord to my computer keeps hitting my tarot deck, so I wanted to move them. And right as I was talking about women who have babies by these men behind their wives' back or their long-term love relationships back or whatever, the Seven of Winter fell out of my tarot deck, which is this Seven of Swords, which says there is a better choice. Not seeing things clearly, running away from the truth. And I think, not really talking, I'm a woman, so I'm not really talking about the men right now. We know a man's nature. We can call it wrong, even though the basic part of humanity is, hey, we're here to procreate. One thing that's always been true and one thing that's always going to be true, it is natural to have sex. People want to have sex. They want to have sex with each other. I mean, men have millions of sperm. They can procreate up until they're like 300 years old. So people cheating and doing this and doing that is no surprise. So I think women just have to be more responsible, because it's like we go down for a man, and then when you get treated a certain way, it's kind of like, oh, why you do me like this? Why you do me like that? And it's kind of like, well, why you let yourself be done like that? So I think women just don't take a lot of responsibility for the situations a lot of us seem to find ourselves in, or some of us seem to find ourselves in. I'm not gonna make this too long, y'all, because I gotta make me some lunch, okay? But anyway, it's going on 1 o'clock. I can't believe it. So I have futures chart pulled up, and I've always had that question and wanted to have a conversation with you guys about why people will have kids with men who are in other relationships and actually expect that man to be there for the child. Like, you're lucky if you get child support. I kind of feel like you or your child aren't entitled to anything. Like, would it be the morally correct thing to do for the man to be there? Of course it would. But who the fuck out here is doing everything morally correct? Hardly none of us. So, very few and far between of us. Of course, you guys here on this channel probably do things more from the morally correct perspective than most of the other parts of the population. But for the most part, people's moral compass is at an all-time low. So I just don't get. And one of my examples I was talking about is not really Future's situation, because Future doesn't have a wife. He doesn't have a girl. So it's not Future's situation. He is able to go make all the babies he wants as long as he can take care of them. He doesn't have to marry or be with any of the women. I mean, back in the days of monarchs and dynasties, these men who have the money would be what you call kings. They can have concubines. They can have kids by many women. I had give no fucks. I could care less that Future is having baby after baby after baby. I will lose. It says something about him. Does it say something about his nature? Yeah, but he's a Scorpio, guys. What the hell do you expect? And then, as you can see, I've got his chart up. And anybody who's familiar with astrology, you can already see what Future's issues are here in this chart. I mean, it's very apparent. So that's why I said, you know what? I got to come back. Let me make this bigger. And I'll just scroll around the chart if you can't see the whole thing on the screen. I said, I'm going to come back Y'all mind your business. Don't be looking at my tabs at the top. I'm going to come back and do it with the chart because I think y'all really need to see this. And no, it doesn't have his birth time, so it doesn't have his houses. It just has his birth date, which he is late degree Scorpio. So that doesn't probably necessarily help because I'm willing to bet he has very strong Scorpio energy. You could tell Future is the type that's controlling. It's going to be his way or the highway. Even if he pretends like he's going to appease you, that nigga ain't really going to appease you. That man ain't going to appease you. So you can't tell that by his 27 degree Scorpio. I think his sun is at 27 because it doesn't tell the degrees at the top. Yeah, his sun is at 27 degrees Scorpio. Another thing I want you to notice as we talk about Future is that he has no planets in earth signs. So as you look at his chart, again, I don't have his houses, but if we look at this as the bottom half of his chart, I don't have his houses, so don't know. But if we look at this as the bottom half of his chart, either if it's flipped, I'm not sure how all that works, but even if it's flipped, if the moon is in the more external of his part of his chart and these are in the internal, it really doesn't matter because what the big theme of this or the big point to take from this is just that he's got his moon singled out here from all the other planets and they're making these aspects. So the moon is getting some energy and it makes some aspects to this planet, but the moon innately and internally is lonely. So just looking at Future's chart, I asked myself, did he have troubles with his mother? Was he even raised by his mother? Was his mother in the household? Has he had trouble with the women in his life? And even more so, another thing that'll really speak to you, and I have no idea what train of thought I left off on before I started jumping into the chart, but it's just so interesting that I want to talk about it. Another thing that you had to look at with his chart as well is Future has a lot of energy and mutable signs. So it's probably easy for him to just flow any which way. I mean, he has a moon at 0 degrees Gemini. So that says a lot to me about his mother, kind of about the females who may have raised him and brought him up in his life. He may have had a mom that was very active, that really wasn't there. He could have had a mom with mental issues, some things going on, a mom that ran the streets. She could have been really intelligent as well, but with it being over here singled out and at the 0 degrees, I would say there's a big, and you can't see the degrees there, but the degrees are here. His moon is at 0 degrees and 0 degrees and 7 minutes of Gemini. So it's at the 0 degree point. So, that is something that really sticks out in the chart when something is at a 0 degrees. I'm willing to bet he's really gone through some things with his mom in the past. And that moon is making let me see, you can already tell. So if we just look at what's in Sagittarius, and I'm using, let me change this, guys. Actually, it's not even going to matter because I don't know his houses, but I guess I can't change it. Oh, there you go. I'll just change this real quick. If it's in a house, if a planet is in a house, I'm calling it oppositions, I'm calling it squares and all of that. I'm not going from orb to orb, from degree to degree. If it's in the house, then it's going to be a square. It's going to be an opposition. I'm not going with the 10 degrees or the 5 degree orb and all of that, because that energy is going to be felt. The further it is from being an exact opposition square or whatever, it just might not be as heavy of an energy, but it's an energy. So if you look at his moon down here at 0 degrees of Gemini, he probably would have fared better with a Taurus moon, the feminine side of Venus. But then that might have been difficult because it could have been at 27, 28, 29, 28 or 29 degree. The 29th is the anaretic degree. 29 degrees can be difficult as it's a period of it's a cyclic period. It's a complete change. It's moving into a new sign and a new energy. So that 0 is prominent as well because it's like the very, very beginning of that next sign, and it indicates and it shows a significant meaning in one's life that has to do with that planet, or significant occurrences and events that will happen, have happened in someone's life when you have planets at specific degrees. So if you notice with his moon in Gemini, his moon is opposing what he has going on up here in Sagittarius. So he has his moon in he has his Jupiter in Sagittarius. Here's Jupiter here. He has Neptune in Sagittarius. He could even have a mom that may have had some drug issues or something like that. That could be an issue if she wasn't. I don't know if anybody knows Future's story. I know a little bit about him, but I don't recall any of that. I never looked into Future that deep. But something like that could have taken the mom away from the family. And then he has a moon opposition to Mercury. This Uranus is over here in Sagittarius. He has a moon opposition to Uranus. And again, this blue line is oppositions, but if it's in the same house, even if it isn't within a certain degree, if it's in 10 degrees or less, which is generally what people consider within that orb for conjunction opposition for a planetary aspect, I'm still counting it because a good astrologer, my astrology teacher always said, and she believes more so in traditional astrology, so she teaches traditional astrology. She says, if somebody's in a house, you can feel that energy. They might be really, really quiet. You might not realize they're there, but when somebody's in your house. So I don't really go by those type of 10 degrees or less, depending on what we're talking about. So he's having an opposition to all of these planets here. So, and I was willing to bet. I was thinking, well, was Future, I'm not that great at guessing rising signs, but looking at his chart, and again, he has the moon singled out on his chart. And I forgot what they call these kind of charts, like a basket chart or some crap like that. But basically, the moon is all over here by itself. So, Future, he could feel even alone in his emotions. He could feel misunderstood. Sometimes there may be conflict because it's sitting there at the 0-degree Gemini. There could be a lot of mental conflict about how he feels emotionally. And when you're trying to work out your emotions in a mental way, that could be kind of tough. And then it's opposing that Uranus, Mercury, Jupiter, and Neptune. So he could have really been through some transformative things with women in his life. And it's going to show you that he's going to go through transformative things with women in his life with this opposition there. And as a matter of a fact, because his sun is in such late degrees of Scorpio and the moon is in such early degrees of Gemini, his moon is making an opposition with his sun. So that is going to put somebody at odds with the women in their life, especially a man. The moon represents the woman and the sun represents the male. So it's an opposing force between those two energies. And then on top of that, it's like, okay, is he always conflicted emotionally? He may always feel some sort of emotional conflict, or he never really feel quite settled emotionally because he's going to go through so many changes having Uranus there. And then Mercury, the way he communicates, and him having that Mercury in Sag. And I also want you to notice while we're talking about Mercury that he has a lot of dignities in his chart. So he has Jupiter. I'll make it a little smaller so I don't have to keep scrolling. He has Jupiter in Sagittarius. So Jupiter, I don't know what I hit. Jupiter is in rulership. So Jupiter is in the sign that it rules. He has let me see. He has Pluto at the 0 degrees of Scorpio. So that goes to show you guys with his sun in Scorpio, his Saturn in Scorpio, and his Pluto in Scorpio at the 0 degrees of Scorpio. So if you want to see that is down here, 0 degrees of Scorpio. And his Saturn is at 9 degrees of Scorpio. And then the sun down there at 27. So Pluto and Saturn are conjuncting in his chart. So and here's Pluto right here at the 0 degrees at the start of Scorpio. And here's Saturn, not too far down. I think it's at 9 degrees. So it's going to tell you in the areas of his life. And again, I really wish I knew the houses on Future's chart, but I don't. I'm willing to bet that he could possibly be a Pisces rising. The way he flows, and he has just that something that must get these women's panties off. He seems to have a flowing energy, talented with music. I wouldn't be surprised if he could be a Pisces rising, maybe have Sagittarius on the 10th house or something like that. That sounds like it could be plausible. Virgo on the 7th. He has no planets in Virgo, no energy in Virgo. So, it could be possible. And if he had this, the Pisces rising, nothing in Pisces. So I don't know. I'm not that great at guessing rising signs, but it's just a guess. It's just a jab. I believe his rising is going to be somewhere between Pisces and Gemini because I really feel like with him being so famous and so successful, he's going to have planets up in the 10th house. So, if I put him at a Pisces rising, that would put Sagittarius as his 10th house. And again, he has Jupiter in Sagittarius. So that's going to function really, really well. He has Mercury in Sagittarius, and it's conjunct that Jupiter. He has that Neptune in Sagittarius, and he has that Uranus in Sagittarius. So he gives me a lot of forward thinking energy, a lot of Mercurial and Uranian energy with future. If you think about him, I know we're kind of talking about sex life and making these babies and what kind of contributes to future being like he is. But if you think about future, he really is a pioneer in what he kind of does in the age of mumble rap. Because Future really, really he wasn't just a mumble rapper. Future really, really made good songs, and which set him apart from all the other mumble rappers. Future really was talented, and like when Designer came out sounding like Future, I was just so turned off. Like, I hate Designer because nobody can kind of do it like Future. Just his lingo is futuristic. How he talks is futuristic. I mean, he has the perfect name, Future, and having that, Uranus up there in Sagittarius, pretty much making an opposition to his moon, how he feels and his emotions. He has a futuristic mind and futuristic thoughts, especially having that Uranus conjunct the Mercury and I guess the Jupiter in Sagittarius. So, and being very, very close to his sun, I would say Uranus does conjunct his sun because Uranus is going to be at early degrees Sagittarius, 8 degrees Sagittarius. Again, his sun is at 27 degrees Scorpio, so that's less than a 10-degree orb. So very futuristic, a very vibrant mind with his Mercury there conjunct his Jupiter in Sagittarius, because Jupiter is going to be strong here. Even though these planets are sandwiched in, Jupiter is going to be strong. And I also think with his Neptune there, making a quincunx aspect to the moon, I'm just going to call it an opposition. Again, it's a Sag. I'm going by the houses, not necessarily degrees, but the aspects. He probably sells women a dream. Like, he probably really knows how to talk to people. He's probably one of the coolest people that you can meet. And Scorpio men can be like that. They can be kind of party hounds, like to go out and act with different people. So he probably sells people a dream. He probably talks a really good game with his Mercury up here, conjunct Jupiter. And we know Jupiter is strong and kind of running shit up here in Sagittarius. Like, he probably has a different way of thinking, spits different kind of game to these women, and they fall for it. I mean, Future is probably a charmer, just looking at some of these planets. And then he has his Pluto again in at the 0 degrees of Scorpio. So he is going through some really transformative Scorpio lessons in his life. He really is. That probably really is a struggle for him. Anything having to do with sex and intimacy and finding deep connections with people. Because of that opposition between the sun and the moon, he might have a problem, really. And this could be Scorpio period, because Scorpio can have problems trusting people and opening up to people. But then when you have a sun and moon opposition in this kind of chart where the moon is singled out over here by itself, I mean, we got Chiron there and we got the North Node there, but I mean, it's just he has no other major planets down here. And if it's a personal part of his chart, his true deep feelings and emotions, he probably keeps to himself and can't really find anybody that he can identify with to really understand him. So he's going to go through these scorpionic lessons in his life, just about learning karma, dealing with things from the past, dealing with that past life karma. He's probably have several lifetimes where he's had issues with women, or if he came into the lifetimes as a woman, probably had the issues with the men, because a lot of this seems to center on his connections and his deep bonds and just death and rebirth and just transformation and all that stuff that Scorpio represents. So through these relationships, through having children with these women, through the things that he goes through with these women and not committing, he probably has transformative experiences where he understands more about himself. But there's something karmic there. Trust me that Future is not, when you see him, he has a very kind of regal spirit to him. It's like he's headstrong. He knows which direction he's going in. Very controlling. You can't tell him what to do. But trust, there's probably some deep seated feelings of unhappiness, or just not really being able to relate to other people, and not just women, you guys. That could be going on with men too. And I don't know if you guys recall, but I could remember used to see him with Rocco all the time. I mean, those guys are out of Atlanta. Future comes out of that whole Dungeon family. I think his cousin or somebody was a member in that Dungeon family clique, with Andre 3000, Big Boy, Outkast, and all of that. So Future has been around the industry. Future kind of has been in those circles. And I think him and Rocco, even though Rocco either was his record label manager, I'm pretty sure it was his record label. I don't know if it's his record label or his manager, because I don't want to get it incorrect. And they ended up getting to a falling out because Future, when he first came out, he was under Rocco. Like you don't even know it. Rocco's song, Future was on it, and they seemed pretty tight. Like it was a brotherhood. I'm sure it was business as well. And they have certain family affiliations. I mean, with Future messing with Sierra, Rocco was with Monica. So, they're all kind of affiliated. So I'm sure him and Rocco had more than just a business relationship. And Future went and signed a bigger deal, and Rocco didn't pay Rocco his money. And I believe they went to court, and Rocco did get their money. Rocco was awarded the money. So he probably doesn't just have issues and trust issues with females. He probably has them with males too. I think Future, looking at his chart, looking at where the moon is and the planets up here that it's opposing, he probably feels like a lot of people don't understand him. Or maybe he has an issue, or he feels different ways understanding himself emotionally as well. Also, I want to mention with the moon in Gemini at 0 degrees. A few months back, I posted a video on my channel about title like Geminis make outside babies or something like that. And of course, any zodiac sign, I'm gonna have to talk to you guys while I cook. Any zodiac sign can make outside babies, okay? That is an exclusive to Gemini. And again, this is his moon down here at 0 degrees of Gemini. And it's by Chiron and the nodes. So he really is going through karmic lessons. And he's not, I don't ever see Future being a committed type. Even if he commits, he's going to cheat. I mean, in my video when I talked about Gemini, first of all, you guys got to keep in mind mutable energy. So, and I'm going to get to what he lacks in his chart, but mutable energy can go either way. Cardinal energy starts off strong, gets things going. They're leaders. They send the troops. They direct people on what to do. That's what cardinal signs do. Fixed signs stay through the long haul. Fixed signs carry things through. Fixed signs gets things done. Fixed signs sticks with projects until it's done. You cannot change a fixed sign's mind, so don't try to change a fixed sign's mind. And if you've ever known Taurus, Aquarius, Leo, or who is the other fixed sign? Scorpio. It's gonna be the opposite. And Future is a Scorpio sun. So he's got this fixed energy on his sun and his will and what he presents on the outside, and then he's got this mutable moon. So he probably does seem really sincere when he comes off to people, but his feelings just have him go a different way. It's not really what's in him to do. It's not really what is in his heart and his emotions to do. And he probably generally is turned on or attracted to various different types of women and different types of things, because that is a Gemini thing. You have to mentally stimulate a Gemini, especially the men. Like, I know Gemini women that could be with men and have been with maybe their husbands and in relationships for long times. But a lot of what I see with Gemini men, and I'm just going to throw out, I don't have a lot of examples, but I'm just going to throw out a few. And if you're interested in that, go back and look at my video about Gemini men making outside babies. But you have like your Carmelo Anthony's, he just had an outside baby. You have your Andre 3000, who used to be with Erykah Badu. Now, maybe Andre 3000 does have a relationship, but I haven't heard about him having a girlfriend since Erykah Badu. Who are some other Geminis? Kanye West, he's married to Kim, but he is always talking about some kind of threesome or something like that. Him and Kim probably do freaky stuff like that. Who knows? But Geminis like variety. Geminis like they're curious. They're a curious sign. As air signs thrive off of interaction with other people. Whereas like a water sign, like Scorpio men, I do know several Scorpio men who like to go out and party and pretty social. And I would say Scorpios can be social, so can Pisces, but water signs like to spend a lot of time alone. It's almost like me as a Cancer, and I'm a Cancer rising and a Cancer sun. You almost have to force me to interact with people because my home is my abode. I'm not the type that ever was in the clubs or anything like that. So I like to do it and go out and have fun. But see, signs like Gemini, the mutable signs, Geminis, Pisces, Sag, Virgos, and even fire signs, they like to go out and interact with people. And I'm going to keep it on the air signs and the mutable signs right now. And even air signs, Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius, they learn and thrive off of their interactions with other people. So Geminis like to go and discover. They're the type that had many friends, many different interests. So the fact that he has a moon there just at 0 degrees of Gemini of all things shows you that he's going to be a hard man to tie down. Again, even if we're not talking about celebrity Geminis, I know a lot of Geminis in my personal life, Gemini men specifically, who just need to have open relationships or they're cheaters. And I mean like excessive. Okay, I know some people come from the perspective, well, all men cheat or whatever the case, and I wouldn't say that I disagree. One second. I wouldn't say, hold up. I wouldn't say that I disagree with that, but some men are more dogs than others are. You know what I mean? Even if they're all dogs, some are pit bulls. You get what I'm saying? So it's that kind of thing. And I see that a lot with Gemini. So him having his moon there at 0 degrees tells you that he is probably the type of person where different things satisfy him. He has different interests. Settling down with one person, just with his moon being in Gemini, that may be a little difficult. Let me see. And then let's look at his Venus. He has his Venus over here. So his Venus is right up here in Libra. He has Mars in Libra. He has Venus in Libra. So what I see in Future's chart is just because those signs are conjuncting or opposing, it doesn't always mean it's going to be a negative energy. But I see a lot of antagonistic energy between the male and the female planets in his chart. So you've got Venus and Mars right there. And while that does create passion and may create a person who has a lot of passion, it's probably also going to create a lot of discord when it comes to the love relationships because you have Mars right there. And Mars is like a purely sexual, it's all will. It's not feelings, it's not emotion. You know what I'm saying? And Venus needs some of that. Venus needs some tender loving care. So you see how he has that dichotomy between his Venus and his Mars, the male and the female. And then he has this dichotomy between the moon and the sun in his chart. And then if you look, like I talked about planets and dignity, planets in rulership. So he has Pluto in Scorpio, which is, and I can only imagine that Saturn in Scorpio might be hard energy as well. But I'm sure it is. He has Pluto in Scorpio, which Pluto is the modern day ruler of Scorpio, so it is in rulership there. So that Pluto is going to be really strong, just taking him through experiences that in his life that are completely transformative, that may be difficult, but he has to go through that to learn and to learn the lessons. And that's probably why it's sitting right up there with Saturn, because he's got a lot of lessons to learn when it comes to the scorpionic energies and details of life that he's going to have to deal with. And then getting back to this Libra, Venus is in rulership there. Venus is in rulership in Libra, and that probably makes him, like I said, I would really like to know what his houses are, what time he was born. But that Venus in Libra probably makes him a good lover, a loving individual. You know what I'm saying? And he's got that Mars, so he's got some fire and passion there because he's got that Mars conjuncting that Venus, but it doesn't make for a person who's a calm person to deal with, or probably an easy person to deal with in relationships. It's going to create some tension. But his love nature, he probably is at one, he probably is a romantic, and he's the type who can sweep you off your feet and woo you off your feet and buy you gifts and make you think the world is going to be all yours until you guys have had your tryst and your roll in the hay, and then he goes home the next day and you don't hear from him for 3 months or you don't hear from him for a few weeks, or he's not showing you what he showed you when you guys were together. I feel like Future is probably a charmer because, again, he's got that Libra and rulership. So he's got several planets in rulership that are very powerful in his chart. So, and then the other thing I wanted to talk about really quick as we take a look at his chart, because his chart is just really easy to see why he's having those issues, and he's having the issues with being faithful. And also what I want to say is Venus is strong here in Libra, but Mars is going to fall here in Libra. So, his will might be weak. He might be weak to women. Women may overpower him. He may have a hard time really, truly resisting, women that come onto him, or, resisting women who are trying to interfere in his relationships or court him or bed him and get him in bed sexually. It's probably hard for him with Mars falling here in Libra, because Mars is not going to have a strong energy, as strong of an energy there. I mean, we go through the chart and look at some other things to see if it gives Mars some strength, but Mars rules Aries. Aries is Libra's opposite, so Mars is going to fall in Libra. It's not comfortable in the sign of Libra. So this is all just... Future's got a lot going on, and I think he's really, really strong on the emotions. First of all, he's a water sign. Water signs are signs that are strong on emotions, and he might also have issues, like I said, with that communication. There may be some falsehoods and some lies that just come out of his communication, because Mercury is in fall in Sagittarius as well. Mercury rules Gemini and Virgo. So for it to be in the opposite sign, it's not going to be as strong there. It's not going to do as well. So I feel like he has grandiose communication where he's not always honest, about what he's saying and about what's going on. And then the other thing that we just want to take a look at, but he has a very amorous nature, a very Venus-like nature, but something about his manhood or his will as a man is weakened a little bit by his love nature. So maybe he has a tendency to excess. Maybe he has a tendency to overdo when it comes to luxury or love or sex or anything having to deal with Libra type things. He may even overspend and that sort of thing. What's going on? Oh, he may even overspend in that sort of thing. And then the other thing I wanted to talk about, which shows you that he is a person. So when you look at his chart, most of his planets, I mean, he doesn't have any planets in Capricorn, Aquarius, Pisces, Aries, Taurus, Leo, Virgo, Cancer. He doesn't have anything. All of his planets. Now, he's going to have fixed stars and other constellations and stuff in his chart, and those signs that's going to make aspects and things like that. But as far as just his major planets that we deal with in this solar system and galaxy that we live in, he only has planets in Gemini, Sagittarius, Scorpio, and Libra. One cardinal sign, 2 mutable signs, and 1 fixed sign. So, and then most of his planets, as you see sitting there, he's got 4 sitting in Sag alone, and then 1 sitting in Gemini. So a lot of mutable energy. And then where he's fixed at and where he's aggressive and where he's strong at is meeting people. These encounters with women and these different females in his life, but just in exposing his will or imposing his will on people. But the follow up and the follow through and sticking with things is just not his strong suit, having that mutable energy. He kind of goes any which way. I wouldn't even be surprised if maybe there was something there about him that was bisexual. I mean, with that moon in Gemini and what he's got going on over here in Libra, I wouldn't be surprised if something was really going on in his emotions where he was torn between being bisexual. That wouldn't surprise me. And then another thing to show you that if you're a woman who's interested in future, how you know he's probably going to be hard to tie down is because if you look at this chart, look around the circle of this chart. I understand some of the signs may get cut off, but you can kind of understand what's what. So if you look around the hemisphere of this chart, around the circumference of the chart, you'll notice he does not have absolutely any planets in earth signs. And I told you he had some heavy um, Uranian kind of energy to me. And so forward thinking, that Plutonian kind of energy, that Neptune kind of energy of being in the clouds, it's his world, what he says goes, but he has nothing in the earth. So what does that tell you if a person has nothing in earth signs? It tells you that that person is probably going to be hard to pin down. When it comes to them being grounded and fair and kind of thinking about other people and he's probably good with friendships and maybe reasoning. Like if you get on his bad side, it's probably not too hard to work things out and reason with him with that Venus and Libra. But when it comes to him just sticking with things and just being somebody you can build a very strong foundation with, he doesn't have anything in earth signs. It's like it's gonna have to be his way or the highway. And if you choose to stay there, you're going to go on this ride with future through whatever it is that he's going through. And that's an example of that is out of all the relationships that he's been in, there's one girl, I think her name is Brittany Mealy, the one that used to be a stripper. She's a Virgo. And she has been with him through like all of these relationships. Like he'll leave, he'll come back. He'll, and let me just Virgo on the, let me just think fast. Leave on the 6th, Scorpio on the 7th, Capricorn 9th. I was just thinking, I was moving the charts around. I'm still thinking about what his rising sign could be. But he's got this woman, the Virgo, the Brittany Mealy, the child, the mother of one of his children, who's kind of been sticking around. It's like he's with her and then he leaves her for another girl and then she's there for him to come back to, which I can, it's probably hard. It's hard to let a regular broke dude go. So I guess it's really hard to let, a quasi-rich rapper go. You know what I'm saying? It probably, yeah, I'm sure it's difficult dealing with the infidelities and the cheating and the fact that it's hard to trust that person. But, sometimes money pacifies people's pain. That's all I can say about that. Sometimes money pacifies people's pain. So he's got that one that's like his backup, his bottom bitch that he can go to. But she's there as he goes through all these other relationships. I mean, one minute they're engaged, they're married, they're vacationing together. Next minute, she don't like future. She gonna cry in the Honda. She not gonna cry in the Benz. You know what I'm saying? She ain't gonna cry in the Wraith. She won't go cry in the Honda. All that dumb shit Future be talking about. But Future is probably like, look, and then with that Venus, like I said, with the Venus being in rulership in Libra, he probably has a strong attachment to money and material things. We all know Libra is a very material sign. So, that just goes to show that. But the fact that he has nothing in earth, it just goes to tell you you're dealing with somebody, and that's probably why he is so futuristic. Like I said, he gives me a Uranian vibe. He's somebody that's got his head in the clouds, and Future's gonna do what he wants to do. So these women had to deal with Future at their own risk. You kind of got to look at it sort of like a king and his concubines. I mean, when men have money like that, yeah, some of them want to settle down and be with one person, but a lot of them don't. A lot of them would rather, spread their seed. And when you have that kind of money, if that's what your yearnings are inside, which he's a Scorpio, so he's gonna only devote himself to somebody who completely understands him emotionally, but he's probably gonna have a hard time and maybe never find somebody who truly understands him emotionally, understands his need for variety, understands his need for excitement, his need for new information, whether it has to do with people, data, whatever, they probably just are not gonna understand his need for that. Because women, no matter how much they may go along with or stick with you through cheating, they really want you to be with just them. I mean, 99% of women, that's how they feel. So I just thought that Future's chart was very telling. We don't have to make this really long. I just wanted to holler at you guys about it because he has this other baby mother coming out. She has him in court for child support because, and I can remember she came out with this story months ago, probably almost about a year ago, around the time that she got pregnant and claimed it was Future's. And she was saying he was making death threats and all this kind of stuff. But she ended up having a baby, and now she has him in court. And she also, so this is after Joy Chavis's child. So Bow Wow's child's mother, she was the last one I think most people know that had a baby by Future. But then this other woman had a baby after Joy, and she's claiming Future had someone else pregnant while she was pregnant. So that's two more babies after the last baby by Joy Chavis that most Joey Joy, I'm not sure what Bow Wow's child's mother's name is, but Future got a thing for Bow Wow's exes. Funny, Bow Wow is a Pisces. I'm telling you, Future might be a damn Pisces rising. I just don't know what his rising sign is. I'm not that great at guessing, but I feel like it's good potential he could be a Pisces rising. So she's alleging that he had another girl pregnant at the same time as well. So there's two more babies after the last baby that most of the public knows about. So just seeing that story made me want to come and just take a look, because I had never taken a look at Future's chart. I knew his birthday. I knew he was a Scorpio, strong Scorpio energy, because as you can see, he's here at the later degrees of Scorpio. He's at the 27th degree of Scorpio here. So he's got that Scorpio energy down. And then it's Saturn there and Pluto, which is getting extra strength. Something has really gone on in Future's life. Future is probably hell. Future either been through hell or Future be giving these hoes hell. Do you hear me? That's what I see just by looking at his chart. But I thought it was interesting. So I want you guys to like the video and comment so my video can circulate on YouTube. But I want you to comment with how you feel about that, how you feel about the Future situation. I don't really think there's anything wrong with it. I don't see a need for him to be married to any of those women if he doesn't want to be married. If Future is going to kick out the money and take care of his kids, I really don't see what the complaint is and why everybody's worried about all these kids that Future has. I don't care because I don't have to pay for Future's kids. Future makes enough money to take care of his kids, at least as of now. And I'm telling you, even if Future didn't rap, I know he hasn't really had a hot rap song in the last few years. In the music industry, it seems you're only as good as your last song. But I bet you Future can produce. There are other things that Future can do. So just because you don't see him in front of the camera, I have no doubt that he's talented enough. Like I said, I really see some energy. Let me think, what would he be if he had Aquarius on the first? If he had Aquarius on the first as his rising, that means he had with Leo as the 7th, Virgo as the 8th, Libra as the 9th, Scorpio as the 10th. He could be an Aquarius rising as well. I'm saying Aquarius or Pisces. And I'm going to take that. I said anything from Pisces through Gemini, but anything from Aquarius through Gemini could be his rising. Because I was thinking he could be a Gemini rising at first. But I really was feeling like with all of that energy between Sagittarius, Scorpio, and Libra, that maybe that's on his 10th house. Could be, possibly. I'd really like to know his birth time. But, no earth energy, hard to pin that man down, hard for him to just be practical and exist on this earth. That man is in outer space. He is futuristic. He is in the clouds. When a man tell you about himself, you got to believe him. You know what I'm saying? So my only gripe is these women shouldn't have to struggle to get their kids taken care of because Future knows exactly what he's doing. He must be one of those guys who wants a big tribe of kids with a lot of different women, which doesn't surprise me with a Scorpio. He's got that strong Scorpio energy. Pluto at 0 degrees of Scorpio over here. My finger's wet. It won't move. Here's Pluto at that 0 degrees of Scorpio. And then sometimes people see Saturn as the father. So he's got the Saturn and Sun in Scorpio. So he is the ultimate father. Right? He is the father of all of mankind with as many kids as Future makes. But again, if he takes care of his kids, I don't necessarily see a problem with that because he doesn't have to be bound to anybody legally by marriage. He's got money, so he can just take care of those kids and pay child support. And I think Future will always have a career either in front or behind the scenes. But also, the one last thing I wanted to touch on, I know I talked about it in my car chat last night because I don't study these charts. I just pull them up with you guys and go over whatever it is that I see. But I was also talking about the opposition here with the Neptune and Sag and the Moon and Gemini. Although it is a wide opposition, he has Jupiter there and Neptune, and that could speak to some of the drug use and things like that. So that may be another thing. Maybe he had a mom with a drug issue. Maybe he has a drug issue and things like that. So when I say Future's really living in the clouds, he's really living in the clouds. I know he came out and said he's not really into that no more, about rapping so much about the drugs. Because, Future is the one who really, the lean culture, the codeine culture, the Oxycontin culture, the pill culture was already going on. It's been going on in white society for like the last 15, 20 years. But I think Future, when he came out, he really pushed the drug culture because, his whole album was called Dirty Sprite. He was pushing that lean culture. He was pushing the drug culture. So just looking at his Neptune being up there in Sagittarius next to Jupiter, it all being kind of opposite his moon. That could be a reason. As you know, Neptune rules Pisces. Neptune can talk about drugs and being in a haze and just being in a cloud. You know what I mean? Neptune can really mean that. So, guys, that was just a really short rendition of Future in his chart. And I said really short, and it said 46 minutes and 48 seconds. How, Sway? How? I hope you guys enjoyed that. Comment below because I really want to know what you think about Future. Do you think that it's okay that he keeps having these babies? Do you think he should settle down with one woman? And if you think that, why? Why would he do that with the money that he has? And if he truly doesn't feel that way internally and inside, why would he do that? What do you think about women that have these kids with married men and men in long-term relationships, and then they're claiming the men are deadbeat dads, even when they do send a check? I see Carmelo's side chick baby mother talking about he don't see his daughter, he don't see his daughter. Well, bitch, you knew he was married. Did you think he was going to see his daughter? Were you wishing on a star and hoping on a prayer? What was you doing? Wishing on a prayer, hoping on a star? Just doesn't make sense to me. Doesn't make common logical sense to me. And women just have to be more cognitive about their decisions. So guys, thanks for watching Frequencyville Radio. I'm going to go ahead and upload this for you. Enjoy, comment, like, subscribe, and I'll talk to you later. Madam X, I'm out. Also, I want to add about his chart, guys. I was thinking as soon as I ended the video, some of you guys may be thinking, well, why? 1 second, guys. Some of you guys may be thinking like, well, why so many babies? Why so many babies? Well, babies, I'm looking in my rulership book, and babies are ruled by the moon and Venus. The moon is in Gemini. Gemini is a symbol of twins, and it's at the 0 degree. That can indicate lots of mothers of his kids, lots of different, multiple babies. He could even have twins at some point. So multiple babies and Venus. He has Venus here, and Venus is in rulership in Libra. So it's very, very strong. That's what I talked about, a strong love nature, a lot of seeds to spread. And then Venus, what's going on up here in Libra, is going to be trining Gemini. They're both the same element, so it's going to trine and make that connection to the moon. So that could just talk about amorous love for babies and children and reproducing and procreating through sex. So just wanted to add that small part, guys. I'm out of here. Bye.